Is there a way to disable that at all?
Hold on for yourself.
Yeah. All right.
No.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. If you can go ahead and mute yourself during the conversation, we're going to have a chance for questions at the end. Thank you so much. All right. Thanks, everyone. This is the Invincible Health Series with Dr. Vin. My name is Krista Gervon. I'm the Communications Director at Princeton Integrative Health, and I'm joined with Dr. Vinny. June is Alzheimer's disease and Brain Health Awareness Month, and we've been talking about brain health for the last few months, so we're just going to keep on going with that topic because there's just so much out there to learn, and Dr. Vinny has so much great information for us. So we're going to talk today about Alzheimer's and get some information on maybe how to prevent that from happening. We're going to go ahead and talk about some questions first. I'm going to ask Dr. Vinny a bunch of questions, and he's going to enlighten us all. So, Dr. Vinny, about how many Americans and how many people worldwide have Alzheimer's disease?
So there are 6 million Americans currently who have Alzheimer's. That number is expected to increase to 13 million if people don't start taking better care of their brains. That's by 2050.
Wow.
So more than double by 2050. And it's already a big burden on the healthcare system, on financial resources. So we want to help impact that. And right now there are currently 50 million people worldwide who have Alzheimer's disease. So it's a huge, huge problem.
Wow. Yeah, that is a lot of people. And it doesn't just affect the person who has Alzheimer's. This affects the entire family unit. So about how many Americans are unpaid caregivers for someone with Alzheimer's disease?
So about 11 million Americans. So, that's about, 2 caregivers per each person with Alzheimer's. And they literally provide billions of hours of unpaid care. The system would probably buckle if we didn't have all these unpaid care providers. It's hard enough that on the system that people in nursing homes, assisted living facilities, so there's paid care, but and thank God for that. But there are millions of people who either can't afford that care or don't want to put their loved ones into assisted living or nursing facilities, so they're providing unpaid care, and it's I want to honor them. It's a huge undertaking. It's extremely stressful for them. So I want to honor them for what they're doing for their loved ones.
Absolutely. It's a very difficult job, to say the very least. So, I mean, between the 6 million people who are in the United States suffering from Alzheimer's and the 11 million caregivers, this is a huge portion of our population. And so it's great that June has been dedicated to Alzheimer's disease and brain health awareness. But really, we should, be talking about this topic all year round and ways to prevent it so we can avoid that daunting number of possibly doubling the amount of people who are going to be dealing with Alzheimer's by 2050. So what are some basic lifestyle recommendations that you can bestow upon us that would help us avoid and prevent Alzheimer's disease?
Sure. For anybody who's been listening to the series that we're doing, and a lot of this stuff is going to sound familiar, but until we can change the behavior of everyone in the country, and we're going to keep saying it.
Yes.
First, diet is extremely important. The standard American diet, if you will, with a lot of carbs, red meats, unhealthy fats, processed foods, is a recipe for developing Alzheimer's. Whether it's because of insulin resistance or just the toxins that are coming in with the food, that type of diet is unhealthy for anybody, whether it's somebody who might be vulnerable to developing Alzheimer's, or it's somebody who's vulnerable to developing heart disease, or it's somebody who's vulnerable to developing diabetes, or all three of those things. We need to get people to really mindfully eat, cut down the sugar, cut down the carbs, eat a very whole foods, vegetable friendly, with some fruit mixed in there diet. If we all did that, got some good fish in there, America would be a much healthier country right
Absolutely.
now.
And that wasn't a shout out to Whole Foods, the store. That was
No, no.
Whole Foods.
Just eat whole foods. I
Eat
mean,
food
they
that it is not processed and
go to Wegmans if you want, or
yeah,
ShopRite, but
cook all of them.
shout out to the Whole Foods in all the various stores for sure, versus the processed foods. Yes, absolutely.
Continue. Sorry, go ahead.
So first, diet is foundational. It's one of the most important things we can do. I guess while we're on that topic of diet, nutrition, make sure you're getting enough vitamin D during the summer if it ever really arrives. Maybe you can get out there, get a little bit of sunshine before you put your sunscreen on. Try to get 15 to 20 minutes so you're generating some vitamin D. If you find that you can't get enough sunshine, can't generate enough vitamin D, then a vitamin D supplement, because you want to keep your levels elevated all year long. It helps prevent viral illnesses, including COVID, and has so many other important health effects. It helps prevent dementia. It helps prevent heart disease. So getting your vitamin D is important. You don't really get a lot of that when you eat from foods. It's either you have to generate it from the sun or you have to take a supplement.
Absolutely.
Next is activity. Make sure you're getting decent activity. The recommendations are to get 30 minutes of moderate intensity activity 5 days a week. That's 150 minutes. That should be your minimum for the week. Get up to about 300 minutes has been shown to have benefit. That would be an hour, 5 days a week, or split it up however you want. You don't have to do it all at once. You could, take 2 20-minute walks a day, and you would get what you needed in terms of activity. Or if there's something you enjoy doing, I enjoy playing pickleball. So if I can, I grab a rack and head out to the court. I enjoy going into the ocean. So if I can, with my grandchildren, we go down to the shore and we play in the waves. It was really chilly a couple of weekends ago, but we were still out there. We're out there.
Probably cold this time of year, and that'll.
It was 59 degrees. That woke me up.
Don't care though. The kids don't care. They will go in.
They don't. It's amazing. So so any activity that you enjoy that gets your body moving, gets you off the couch, out from in front of the TV, and outside where you can get a little bit of sunshine while you're out there being active. Bike riding, go to the gyms if you want at this point, if that's the kind of activity you want to do. But I think a lot of people during this time of year crave getting outside and doing that kind of thing, and I think that's the healthiest way to do it.
Between
Whether
the
it's
pandemic
simple,
and the winter, I think people.
Was that?
I said between the pandemic and the winter, I think people are ready to get outside.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's walking or just some other activity you enjoy, just being active is the important thing.
Absolutely.
Finding ways to mitigate stress, whether that's an activity that you enjoy, exercise and activity that you can enjoy. Some people find that to be very stress relieving. Some people go to yoga, meditation, anything, Tai Chi, anything like that. Prayer can be, for some people, very powerful in terms of mitigating their stress.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, that the important thing is that it helps you relax. Because actually, when you mitigate your stress, when you meditate, when you pray, when you're active, your brain chemicals change. They change neurotrophic factors that help nerves grow and become more resilient and make more connections. All that happens when you're doing something that you enjoy, or you meditate, or do yoga, Tai Chi, prayer, any of that.
Yeah. All of those activities are so grounding, and it really brings you kind of back into the moment and can really help you grasp.
Yes, that's very important. Very good. Mindfulness. just being in the moment, taking a moment to breathe, and just instead of, that constant worry, that constant chatter in your head, just kind of interrupt that cycle, and it's great for people.
Definitely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and then sleep, you know, um, if you sleep less than 6 hours a night, you are definitely at risk for developing Alzheimer's, dementia, or heart disease. Um, but it's also not just the quantity of sleep you get, but the quality of that sleep. So if you have any questions, if you snore, if your partner tells you you gasp for air during,
Yeah.
or if you wake up just not feeling refreshed and fall asleep easily during the day, you should get tested for sleep apnea. It is a huge problem, hugely underdiagnosed in this country. It leads to heart disease. It leads to atrial fibrillation, an abnormal rhythm of the heart that can put people at risk for stroke, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, all the metabolic diseases of modern times. It can either cause or at least contribute to those. So if there's any question, I would recommend that you find somebody to help you get tested for that.
Absolutely.
So,
Those are the basic lifestyle tips that you can start implementing on your own and, see if there's a difference. So I think those are really great. Did you want to open up to questions, or was there any other information you wanted to share?
No, right. I think those are all the things that everybody should be doing, right along.
Yeah.
Try to prevent this. If, we lived a healthier lifestyle, there would be a lot more prevention. And I think in the future weeks, we'll talk more about specifically different areas we can get into that help really prevent. And some people are even saying reverse cognitive decline. So that's the teaser for future episodes.
Yeah, definitely.
This
Well, if
week.
you have any questions, we have a good group here on Zoom. We have a couple people watching on Facebook. So if you're on Zoom, you can unmute and ask your question. If you're on Facebook, feel free to type something into the chat.
Any questions, anyone?
Oh, here's a question in the chat. Oh, there's a lot of information. Okay. Any thought on Bredesen's 3 causes of AD? So there's inflammation from infection, diet or other causes, decline and shortage of supportive nutrients, hormones, and other brain supporting molecules, toxic substances such as metals or biotoxins.
Yeah, so there's, he actually divides Alzheimer's either into 6 subtypes or 6 contributing factors. As Lori mentioned, inflammation, glycotoxicity from diabetes or prediabetes, nutrient deficiencies, including hormone deficiencies, vascular causes, toxins, and trauma. So those are the 6 subtypes. Yeah, I think, I think many people have different contributors. So it's not usually just a straight inflammation or a straight toxin or a straight, glycotoxicity or diabetes or, all of those things often combine. And you need somebody to help you, do the proper testing so that you can see what the contributors are. Therefore, you can know what the different treatments are. And for anybody who hasn't heard of Dale Bredesen, he wrote the book called The End of Alzheimer's, which details that. And somebody said to me, they picked up a book from a doctor, so they thought it was just going to be totally dry, and but they said he actually tells a great story, and I agree. It's a very compelling book. Lots of stories to get points across, and it's got a sense of humor. Again, rare for a doctor, but
Yeah, that's always
not unheard of.
Any other questions? Did want to mention that next week we'll be here around the same time, 4:30, on the brain health topic. We're going to be discussing PTSD as well as headaches and migraines. So be sure to join us next week for that discussion as well. Joe Bonacci, our acupuncturist, will also be joining us for that. So there'll be a lot of great information from both Dr. Vin and Joe. Well, if there are any other questions at this time, I think John has one. Hi. Did you have a question, John?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I was thinking of B vitamins and complex and aluminum. I heard that aluminum or and the genetics from your mother. I was wondering about those.
I'm sorry, well, say that again, John. I heard aluminum and what, the genetics from your mom? Is that what you said?
Yeah, and B complex, a large amount of B vitamin.
B vitamins are great. I mean, B vitamins help support any type of nerve growth. They're certainly one of the nutrients that we assess when we're assessing nutrient deficiencies, for sure. So they can be helpful. They can be a key component from that. Genetics can play a role. We assess some genetics. Probably going to be doing some genetic training. I'm trying to see when that's going to fit into my training schedule, whether it's going to be now or 3 or 4 months from now, because I'm doing a lot of training in the Recode program. I got certified back in 2018, but there's been a lot of new updates since then. So I'm, recertifying on that. Also working on Lyme disease and toxins. So try to see if I can get that genetic component in there. But within about 4 months, I should definitely have it. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff about genetics, certainly with Alzheimer's disease. And the important thing about that is, genetics is not your destiny. There are things that you can do, the way people eat, the supplements people take, the activity that they do that can alter people's genetics, because what we do turns genes on and off. So we want to turn off the bad inflammatory genes and turn on the good anti-inflammatory nerve growth promoting genes. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
sure.
John.
Let's see. I see that I think Lori had another question about coconut ketones per Dr. Newport. I'm not familiar with actually coconut ketones, to be honest. I know ketones overall are a better source of fuel for the brain. We try to get people there through diet primarily, but for some people, they have trouble getting there. So sources of ketones are good for them. I'll have to look up the coconut ketones myself. That's why I love doing this. I love learning from the people who are joining us here. So I'll have to look up coconut ketones and see what exactly their benefit is over some of the other ketones. But yeah, ketones are great because a lot of people with Alzheimer's have insulin resistance, which means they can't use sugar as a good fuel source for the brain. And the brain wants to run on sugar if it can, but it can also run great on ketones. So if it doesn't have the sugar available, it'll eventually switch over to ketones. And that is a much better brain fuel. One of the things that has been known for a long time in the neurologic literature, somebody has uncontrolled seizures. If they put them on a ketotic type diet, it actually helps control the seizures because the brain works so much better on ketones. Okay, MCT, coconut oil, run on ketones, just about a dementia. Okay, yeah, the MCT, yep, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, any type of ketones would be helpful. Let me see what the rest of the comment is. So she's saying there's a Dr. Newport who has a site where he talks about, run by Julie Gregory, ApoE4, early onset Alzheimer's disease and youth medicine to get better, apoe4info.com. ApoE4, you get your genetics tested, ApoE4, and full disclosure, I have 2 copies of ApoE4. So I am extremely interested in the genetics of this and preventing myself from having Alzheimer's. And I was gratified. I had a SPECT scan by Dr. Daniel Amen. He's a psychiatrist who does brain scanning, and my brain still looked pretty good. So there was no deficit in the hippocampal areas, the memory areas. So I feel like I'm doing the right things.
That's great.
Yeah, if you're ApoE4 positive, it's more likely that you're going to get dementia. And they say with one copy, it's about 30% more likely. And if you have two copies, it's supposedly your chances of dementia, if you're not doing the right things, is 50 to 90%. So those aren't great odds. So
No.
that's why, yeah, I'm totally interested in this field because I really, I'd be upset if I got dementia, I think.
Yeah, we appreciate
So
your interest in it and how much information you're able to provide to our audience and our community. It's really so valuable.
yeah. So just in even more full disclosure, I guess my dad died at 70 from heart disease, so that's why my interest in heart disease. So I had to get one copy of ApoE4 from him. I blame him for my heart disease. But he didn't have dementia when he died, so I feel like I'm good till at least 70. And my mom lived to be 92, and she had to have one copy of ApoE4, and she didn't have dementia. She never had dementia either. So I don't know. I learned recently that there are many modifying factors for people with ApoE4 that can either make that gene worse or better, mitigate the effects of that. So that's what's got piqued my interest in doing the further genetic testing, because I'll be able to see if I have, the mitigating factors, and I suspect that I do.
Are you planning on doing that soon?
Yeah, I just actually wrote an email to the person at the genetic testing company. I'm like, how long is this training? Because I'm like totally inundated with training right now.
Yeah. Well, you have to share your findings, I guess, when you get them.
When I do it, I will have to share my findings for sure. Yeah.
Right.
My brain will be an open book.
Yes, always. Oh, one more question here. Have you looked at Ben Lynch for epigenetic issues? He is bachelor's in cell and molecular bio, but is a naturopath.
I have heard of Ben Lynch and his Dirty Genes. I have not read that book as of yet. It's one of the ones on my reading list, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's, I love the naturopaths. They have so many interesting ideas and, natural ways of doing things. Yeah, I love, I just love them. So, yeah, Ben Lynch is definitely on that reading list.
All right, I think
Other questions?
nothing on Facebook. We have a couple viewers, but otherwise, I think we're good. Anybody else? Well, I appreciate everyone for joining us today. It was a great discussion, as always. Again, please join us next week at 4:30 to learn more about PTSD and migraines with Joe and Dr. Vin. And thank you again, Dr. Vinny. So much great information.
Thank you, Krista. Thank you for everyone who's viewing this now, came on live, and thanks everyone who's going to be viewing it later, recorded. So reach out if we can answer any questions or anything like that for you. Yes, again, we, for anybody who's listening to this, we do free 30-minute discoveries if you want to learn more about our practice or how we might be able to help. So.
Yeah, and if you wanted to follow up with us with any of the information that you heard on this discussion, either now or if you're watching later, 609-512-1468 is our phone number, and you can also email us at info@princetonih.com. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great night.
Okay, thanks, Krista.
Bye.
Thank you, Lori.
Bye, everyone.